SVG. This is a crash course for SVG. So what is SVG? So let's proceed to the next page. What is SVG? So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. And SVG is used to define vector-based graphics for the web. SVG defines the graphics in XML format, and every element and every attribute in SVG files can be animated. So SVG is a W3C recommendation, and SVG integrates with other W3C standards such as DOM and XSL. SVG is a W3C recommendation. So SVG 1.0 became a W3C recommendation on the 4th of September 2001. So W3C means the World Wide Web Consortium. So SVG 1.1 became a W3C recommendation on the 14th of January 2003, and SVG 1.1 second edition became a W3C recommendation on the 16th of August 2011. SVG advantages. Advantages of using SVG over other image formats like JPEG and JFR. Number 1, SVG images can be created and edited with any text editor. So you can use text editor. SVG images can be searched, indexed, scripted, and compressed. Since it can be searched, this is more or less friendly with SEOs. So for search engine optimization. SVG images are scalable as compared with JPEG and GIF. SVG images can be printed with high quality at any resolution. And SVG images are zoomable, and SVG graphics do not lose any quality if they are zoomed or resized. SVG is an open standard, and SVG files are pure XML. So these are the advantages of using SVG. Now, how do we embed SVG directly into an HTML page? So here's an example. So we have here doc type, so HTML body. We have here our heading, so H1. And then here, you notice here we have SVG and then slash SVG. And then we have here the width and height, and then we have here this code. So let's first take a look at the code explanation. So an SVG image begins with an SVG element. So this is the SVG element. The width and height attributes of the SVG element define the width and the height of the SVG image. So this is the width and height of the SVG image. The circle element, so this one, is used to draw a circle. And the CX and CY, so CX and CY attributes define the X and Y coordinates of the center of the circle. So this is the center of the image because this is 100 by 100. So the center is at the center of the image also. And then the R attribute defines the radius of the circle. So the 40 here is the radius of the circle. The stroke and stroke width attribute control how the outline of a shape appears. We set the outline of the circle to a 4-pixel green border. So that means the color is green and the width is 4 pixel. That's the stroke or the outline. And then the file attribute refers to the color inside the circle. So, or the fill attribute rather. So the fill attribute refers to the color inside the circle. So in this case, we set the fill color to yellow. And then the closing tag slash SVG tag closes the SVG image. So that's how we incorporate an SVG file or embed SVG file directly into an HTML page. So SVG shapes. So these are the SVG shapes. So SVG has some predefined shapes, elements that can be used by developers. We have the rectangle. So we use rect or rect as the tag. We use circle, so circle that was shown a while ago. Ellipse for, so we have ellipse here. Line, we also use line. Polyline, also polyline. Polygon, also polygon. Then path, we use also path. So except for rectangle, that's the only abbreviated tag. But for the rest, the same with the name of the shape. So let's try rectangle. So how do we create a rectangle? So here's an example. SVG width equals 400, height equals 110, rectangle width equals 300, height equals 100, and style equals, so open close double quote, fill RGB 00255. So that's RGB, that means that is blue. Stroke width is 3 pixels and stroke color is 000, meaning black. So here's the code explanation. So this will be the output of that one. Okay, the code explanation: the width and height attribute of the rect element define the width and height and width of the circle. So the height here is 100 rather, this is 100, and the width is 300. But the size, image size is 400 by 110. The style attribute is used to define the CSS properties for the rectangle. So these are the CSS properties. CSS field property defines the field color of the rectangle. So field, that's a field. So that's, as I've said a while ago, that's blue. And then the stroke width property defines the width of the border of the rectangle. So this is the border. So stroke width is 3 pixels. And then the CSS stroke property, this is property, defines the color of the border. So you notice 000 is actually black. So the border here is black. Here's another example. SVG width 400 and then height 180. So rectangle X equals 50, Y equals 20, width is 150, height is 150. Style fill blue, stroke pink, stroke width is 5 pixels, fill opacity is 0.1, stroke opacity is 0.9. So code explanation: X defines the left position. So this is the left position. So that means it is at its position at 50. So if this is 400, then we have here some sort of around 50 space, 50 pixels as space before the left edge of the of the rectangle. So place the rectangle 50 pixels from the left margin. Then Y attribute defines the top position. So this is the top position. That means it is placed at 20 pixels from the top portion of the image. And then CSS fill opacity property defines the opacity color. So that means 0 to 1. Okay. And then CSS stroke opacity property defines the opacity of the color range from 0 to 1. If 1, that means it is not transparent. The lesser the value, then it becomes more transparent. So if you notice here, although the color used is blue, it is not that dark blue because of the opacity. That's a fill opacity. That means if we have an image at the back, then the image will be visible because of the opacity, lower opacity. Then here's another example. So SVG width 400, height equals 180, rectangle, and then X equals 50, Y equals 20. Again, these are the position. So left and top position. Width is 150, height is 150. That's why we have a square. Fill is blue, stroke is pink, stroke width is 5, and opacity is 0.5. So you notice this is darker than the previous one because in the previous one our opacity is a lower value. Then that means it is more transparent than this one. Here's another example of a rectangle. So we have SVG width equals 400 and height equals 180. That's the height and width of the image or the page itself. Then where the image is located, and then we place a rectangle. So again, 50 is the left position or the X position, Y is the top position or the Y position, then RX and RY are radius. So RX and RY attributes rounds the corner of the rectangle. So these are radius of the corners. So we have Rx and Ry. Width equals 150, height equals 150, and then fill red, so that's red. Stroke is black, so that's black, but stroke width is 5 and opacity is 0.5. SVG circle. So here we have this one to create a circle. So SVG height equals 100, width is equal to 100. Circle CX equals 50 and CY equals 50. Again, it was mentioned a while ago that CX and CY are the center of the circle. So it defines the X and Y coordinates of the center of the circle. So if CX and CY are omitted, the circle's center is set at 0, 0. Then the stroke is black, and stroke width is 3 pixels, and fill color is red. Again, the R attribute here is the radius of the circle, so that means the radius is 40. So the width becomes 80. That means we have around 20, 10 and 10 spaces left and right, or 10 pixels left and right as margins. Then SVG ellipse. So for an ellipse, so again we define the height and width of the image. Then ellipse CX equals 200, CY equals 80, RX equals 100, RY equals 50. So style, fill, yellow, stroke, purple, stroke width 2. Then explanation here, the CX defines the X coordinate of the center of the ellipse. So just like a circle, CY attributes define the Y coordinate center of the ellipse. And then the RX attribute defines the horizontal radius. So, horizontal radius. So this radius. And then the RY attribute defines the vertical radius, so this radius. So if you place this, we're going to have an ellipse. So here's another example. We have here height 150, width 500, so 500. The center of the circles, ellipse are 240 and 100. We have here 220 and 30 for the radius. Then purple, so this is the first circle. So the first you place will be placed at the bottom. And then here we have line. So center as 220, Y 70. And then we have 190 for RX, 20 for RY. Line, so it's placed at the middle. Then ellipse CX 210, CY 45, RX 170, RY equals 15, and style fill yellow. So again, if you place several shapes inside SVG, then the first image that we place is actually at the bottom of the image. So we can use this to create graphics by combining several shapes. SVG line. So SVG height, again we have height and width 210 and 500. Then we have x1 equals 0. So x, remember that x represents the somewhat of the column, the x-axis. So 0, y is 0. So this is placed at 0, 0. And then x2 and y2 is placed at 200, 200. Then the stroke is RGB 25500. So R, that means red. Stroke width is 2 pixels. So code explanation, again x1 attribute defines the start of the line. Y1 attribute defines the start of the line on the y-axis. X2 attribute defines the end of the line on the x-axis. And Y2 attribute defines the end of the line on the y-axis. So X, Y, and then X, Y. So X1, Y1, X2, Y2. polygon. So the points attribute, so here's an example of polygon. We have width again and height of the SVG polygon points. So we have, if you notice here, we have pairs of points here, 1, 2, and 3. Then we have the style. So just like the previous ones, we have fill equals lime. That's why the color of this one is somewhat green or lime. Stroke is purple, so that's purple, and stroke width is 1 pixel. So the code explanation here is the point attribute defines the x and y coordinates for each corner of the polygon. So this is x, y. So this is at 210. Then the next one is at 250 and 190. Then the next one is at 160 and 210. So since it is a polygon, it will close by itself. So we have here now this shape. Here's another example. So we have 250 and 500. So this time around we have 1, 2, 3, 4 set of points. So fill is lime, stroke purple, so the same as the previous one, but here, so x is 220, so this is 220 and 10, and then this one is 300 and 210, and then this one is 170 and 250, and this one is 123 and 234. So x is 123 and y is 234. That's for the last point. So that is how we define a polygon. Now we have another example of a polygon here. So again, if you're going to look at this, fill lime, stroke is purple, stroke width is 5, fill rule none 0. So you'll see the difference of this later on, but let's take a look at the points. So the first point is 110. Then the second point is, so if this is, where's my mouse? If this is 110, then this is the next point, which is 40 and 198. And then the next point is 190 and 78. Then the next point is 10 and 78. Then the next point is 160 and 98. So you notice that my lines are crossing. That's why the image looks something like this. So this is the last point, and then it will automatically close. That's why the lines are inside. So if you don't want to place the lines inside, then you have to define 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. Then that means you don't have lines inside the star. Now this one is the same as a previous one, but instead of using fill rule non-zero, we use fill rule even add. So you notice that this one is not shaded. So you can try to experiment on fill rule. Polyline. So polyline, so poly means many, so these are combination of many lines. Okay, so a polygon is combination of many sides, while this one many lines. So the same, we have height and width of the SVG. Fill none because we did not close the image. Strokes black, stroke width is 3. So 2020, that's the first line here. 4025 and so on and so forth. So just define all of the points in the image. So these are the points in the image. Okay, so the point attributes defines the list of points, pairs of x and y. So these are x and y, pairs of x and y. Required to draw the polyline. Here's another polyline. So one width and height of the image 040. So this is 040. That's at the top. And at the leftmost. And at position 40. And then we move 40, 40. And then this is 40, 80, 40, 80. And then this is 80, 80, 80, 120, 120, 120, and then 120, 160. So this will draw this polyline. Then we have the SVG Path. The path element is used to define a path. The following commands are available for path data. So M, we move to. L is line to, so that means we want to create a line or draw a line. H, horizontal line to. V, vertical line to. C, curve to. S, smooth curve to. Q, quadratic Bezier curve. T, smooth quadratic Bezier curve to. And then A, elliptical arc. And then Z, closed path. So for example, to draw the same thing, so we have to move to 150. Let's say initially we're at 0, 0, so we move to 150 and 0. So 150x 0y. And then we move left 75x. That's 75x and y. So 75x and y is 200. So this is the next line. Then we move left 255. Oh, so I think there's something wrong here. Maybe some here is to the right or to the left 200, and then maybe this is right 255 200, and then Z to close the path. So the example below defines a path that starts at position 150 0 with the line to position 75 200. Then from there a line. So L is a line, not left. So line to this portion, and then line to this portion, and then Z to close the path. So we have here now the image. So Bezier curves are used to model smooth curves that can be scaled indefinitely. Generally, the user selects 2 endpoints and 1 or 2 control points. A Bezier curve with 1 control point is called a quadratic Bezier curve, and the kind with 2 control points is called cubic. The following example creates a quadratic Bezier curve where A and C are the start and end points and B is the control point. So we have a path ID line AB, so D equals M, move to 100, 350, left 150, negative 300. Stroke is red, so that's line AB. So negative, that means we go up. Stroke red. Stroke width and fill none. And then next line BC, so move to 250, 50, left or line to 150, 300. So from this point 50, 300, stroke red, etc. Then next is this one. So line AB, and then that's BC. Next path, move to 175, 200, left 150 to 0. Stroke is green, so this one. Stroke width is 3 and fill none. The next path, move 100 to 350, and then Q, that means it is a quadratic Bezier curve. And then we have here the points. Stroke blue, so this is actually the image. Then mark the relevant points. So stroke black, stroke width 3, fill black. So we have G/G. So that means it's a, I think that means it's a group wherein we have the same attributes for these circles, but with different location and centers, although their radius are the same. So we have point AB, point BC, and so these are the small circles here. 1, 2, and 3. So stroke black and fill is black. So these are the small circles. And then next, label the points. So we have G again /G, font size. So that's for some sort of a group. Font size is 30, font family sans serif, fill equals black, stroke equals none, text anchor equals middle. So text 100, 350. So that is where we place this letter A. And then text 250, so the location, and then dy 10, we have B. Then text 400, 350 dx 30. Then we have your letter C. That's the whole point. Now you notice the bottom line here is that when it comes to path, if we use curves, it will be quite complicated. And so how do we draw this path easily rather than using code? You can actually use vector graphics editors, like for example CorelDRAW. So you can use CorelDRAW and then you save your image using SVG, then you can find the codes like this. So how do you place text? So text, we have your X, Y, the position, fill equals red, so I love SVG / text. So that's how we place text. So here's also an example. We have the position X, Y, fill red, transform, so we rotate 30, 20, 40, so we rotate 30 degrees. Then I love SVG. So maybe this is the center of rotation. Then here's another one. So we have text / text. Then we have your text span. So we have several lines. So text 10Y style equals fill red, several lines. Then T span 1045. So that means we have the same X, but we have different Y. That means on the next, on the different vertical positions. So 45 first line, and then 70. So this is 70. We have second line. So that's how we place several texts. And that ends a crash course using SVG. As I've said, if it becomes more complicated, then it will be advisable to make use of a vector graphics editor like CorelDRAW. Thank you very much for viewing this video.